Hey friends, welcome back to my kitchen. If you're new here, hi, my name is Jen. I do cooking, canning, and sometimes gardening videos on this channel, so if that seems like the sort of content you'd be into, I hope you'll consider subscribing and sticking around. Today I'm going to show you how I make a sheet pan dinner. It is a sheet pan gochujang chicken and potatoes. And for this meal on this night, I decided to go ahead and add some broccoli into, but that's totally optional. If you don't like broccoli, you could throw a different kind of vegetable on the pan. I really appreciate sheet pan dinners for when I'm busy. I don't have to dirty up a ton of dishes, and I can feed my large family of 6 without having to fuss over it too much. So for this, I'm just starting off with a large package of skin-on, bone-in chicken thighs. If you prefer chicken breast, you can absolutely use chicken breast or legs or just whatever you have on hand. Now, when I make this, I just sort of wing the recipe. I've made it so many times that I don't even usually bother to measure stuff out anymore. This is a family favorite, so I make it quite a bit. But I will leave a list of loose measurements for the ingredients in the description box below, and you can tweak those measurements to suit your personal tastes. So all I'm going to do is on my chicken here, I'm going to pat off some of the excess liquid, that the moisture that builds up on the outside of the chicken, just so that the seasonings stick to it better. And I'm going to liberally season these with salt and pepper. And it doesn't sound like much at first, but that's because we're going to go ahead and paint these lovely chicken thighs with a very spicy and savory chili paste marinade. So don't worry, it will not be under seasoned. And while I know it doesn't really need saying, yes, between each step when I touched the chicken, I did go and wash my hands so that I didn't contaminate my salt and pepper containers. So fret not, no cross-contamination in this kitchen. But yeah, season both sides. You want the underside of your chicken to be well seasoned as well. And then we're going to move on to making our marinade. So for this marinade, it's fairly simple. I'm going to start with about 3 tablespoons of soy sauce. If you want more, you can add more. If you don't like soy sauce, feel free to use the coconut aminos. I don't use those. I find that they have a strange taste to them, and I just don't enjoy it, so I just use soy sauce. I'm also going to add a healthy amount of sesame oil, about 1.5 to 2 tablespoons of sesame oil. Just be kind of careful with the sesame oil and don't go overboard because it can be pretty overpowering to anything that you add it to. And then I'm also going to add just a little bit of olive oil, maybe about 1/4 of a cup. And I'm also going to add about 3 or 4 cloves of minced garlic and about a 1-inch piece of fresh ginger that I just chopped up really finely. Now, the next ingredient, the one that gives this dish its name, is the gochujang pepper paste. This is a Korean red chili paste. It's kind of sweet and a little salty and a little spicy, and you can get variations of this. You can get it anywhere from mild to like extremely hot. So just be careful. If you don't like super spicy things, you might want to go with the mild version, which is a little sweeter than spicy. So I'm going to add about 1/2 cup of this gochujang pepper paste. And if you're worried that you won't be able to find this, most grocery stores, Walmart, Kroger, they all carry this now. It's pretty standard in the international section. And if you can't, you can always order it on Amazon. Now, at this point, after mixing, I felt like my marinade was a little thick, so I added a little bit more soy sauce to it just to loosen it up so that I'd be able to brush it onto my chicken thighs. So for the dinner on this night, I'm using some baby potatoes that I had, and I know that some of these look a little green on camera, but in person they really didn't. There might have been one there that was that one right there that was a little bit green, but the yellow potatoes were showing up green on camera. I'm not really sure why that is. So I washed them, I'm gonna add them to a bowl, and I'm gonna put about half of this marinade right onto the potatoes. And then I'm just going to mix it up really good, make sure all of the potatoes are coated. If you do not have baby potatoes, it is not the end of the world. You can absolutely just cut up some regular potatoes into quarters or smaller pieces if you like, and do that. If you wanted to use sweet potatoes, that would be really good here too. Unfortunately, my husband has a big time aversion to sweet potatoes, so we don't get to eat those much around here, but I think sweet potatoes would be a nice addition to this. So yeah, don't sweat it if you don't have baby potatoes. Just use what you have. And then I'm going to add these potatoes to the pan. Now I'm using two pans here. If I had larger sheet pans, I could have done this all on one pan, but I just have small ones and I didn't want to crowd the potatoes or the chicken. I don't want anything to be soggy. I want these potatoes to get nice and crusty because of the sugar in this chili paste. Everything that we coat it in is going to develop this really wonderful crispy crust on it. So just space everything out and don't overcrowd your pans. Go ahead and use two if you have to. And once I get all the potatoes on the pan, I'm just going to use a silicone brush to go ahead and brush the rest of this mixture onto the tops of my chicken thighs. I'm going to try to get around the edges. I did not flip them over and do the bottom, but that's okay because it's going to sit in its juices and that will help to season the underside of the chicken thigh. The top where the skin is going to get nice and crispy and it's going to be very flavorful. And so I'm not really all that concerned about the underside. I'm not Emeril Lagasse. I don't mind one-sided food. And if I'm being completely honest, when I make a sheet pan dinner like this, it's because I'm in a hurry and I need to get dinner done quickly. I did end up going back off camera and cutting some of those larger red potatoes in half. The ones that were around the edges. I did not want my chicken to burn before all of the potatoes would be cooked, so I tried to keep them all about the same size. So I'm going to put the chicken and the potatoes into the oven at 425 degrees Fahrenheit. And because my oven, I have to cook them on separate racks, I did come back about halfway through and swap shelves. Then when my chicken is about 3/4 of the way cooked, I decided I was going to put some frozen broccoli on this pan. I could have steamed this in another pan, fried it up, but then I'd just be dirtying more dishes, and what's the point in that? So I just threw this frozen broccoli directly onto the tray with the chicken and the potatoes, and then I put it back into the oven. Now, my chicken was still a little frozen, so all of this ended up cooking for about an hour for me. But if your chicken is completely thawed out, I'd say about 45 minutes would be sufficient. Use your kitchen thermometer though, just to make sure that your chicken is coming out at temperature and you don't have any cold spots. You do not want to eat undercooked chicken, and it needs to be at least 165 degrees to be safe. And yes, I totally used my meat thermometer to poke my potatoes to make sure that they were all done too. Don't judge me. But yeah, this was a really simple dinner. All I did was garnish the top of this pan with some sliced green parts of green onions and some sesame seeds. And then I just let my family serve themselves right off of the pans. Minimal fuss, minimal dishes. You notice I even lined my pan with foil so it would be easier to clean. I was not playing around on this day, so that's why I wanted to show you this recipe, because I know a lot of us are very busy people and you want to feed your family a nice healthy meal, but you don't want to be stuck in the kitchen for like hours. This one, you just toss it in the oven and forget about it, and then you have a delicious dinner for your family. So I really hope you give this recipe a try. Like I said, I'll leave the loosely based measurements in the description box below. And if you give this a try, please leave me a comment and let me know what you thought about it. Until next time, friends, happy cooking.